when am I going to get my head above water? When am I going to feel like I have that sense of accomplishment at the end of a week? When am I going to feel like I'm not drowning in tasks every single week? And this feeling is actually brought on by some of the reasons it is, right? We're probably involved in too many things. But one of the biggest reasons we hit this is because as managers, we're constantly context switching. Welcome to the Managing Made Simple podcast, where you get a masterclass in managing your team with ease in 15 minutes or less. I'm Lia Garvin, your host and team operations consultant. Through this show and my programs with small businesses and corporate teams, I condense a decade of experience driving team operations in some of the most influential companies in tech into strategies to save you time, money, and most of all, stress. Doesn't matter if you're a business owner who realized that running a team isn't as easy as you thought it would be, are a new manager learning the ropes, or are a seasoned manager ready to up their game. Everyone is welcome to hang out with Managing Made Simple. From conflicts to feedback to delegating and more, we leave no stone unturned when it comes to what makes us love managing, kind of hate it, and everything in between. Let's go. Welcome back to the show. We've all been there. We have our week. We know this is going to be the week. Monday morning, we make our list. We have it all mapped out, how we're going to spend our time, who we're going to meet with. We got our to-do list. It all seems like, yes, okay, this is going to be the week I finish everything. And then Friday rolls around and we look at our list and we're like, gosh, I didn't finish 80% of this, maybe more. And you got pulled in so many different directions and pulled on and off. And it was just like a week, like every week, where nothing is what you expect. And you end the day Friday not feeling a sense of accomplishment. You feel pretty let down. Like, when am I going to get my head above water? When am I going to feel like I have that sense of accomplishment at the end of a week? When am I going to feel like I'm not drowning in tasks every single week? And this feeling is actually brought on by some of the reasons it is, right? We're probably involved in too many things. But one of the biggest reasons we hit this is because as managers, we're constantly context switching. So that's what I want to talk about today. Recognizing the context switching, seeing how often it happens, and then what do we do about it? Well, we can't do a ton about it, but how do we manage that so that we don't feel like we're just in this endless hamster wheel of work? Because that's where we start to burn out. Okay. I think about 50% of managers report feeling burnt out, right? We're probably all like, well, it depends on the day. I might feel about like 100% of them if it's the end of the year or maybe Q1 or heading into a big milestone. We feel that way even worse when we're jumping from one thing to the next and our life and our job is a game of whack-a-mole. So let's talk about the cost of context switching. Well, it's been researched that context switching and jumping on and off a task, it takes us 23 minutes to refocus. So if you are going 30 minutes, meeting after meeting after meeting, this is what a colleague of mine, Carrie Jacobs, she was on the podcast, calls chain smoking meetings. When you're going from meeting to meeting to meeting, and they're all 30 minutes, you are literally context switching, and you haven't even recovered from that until you're 23 minutes almost over with that next meeting. If you are or have your calendar and it's kind of a Swiss cheese thing where you have a meeting and then 30 minutes and then an hour, then 30 minutes, each of those 30 minutes when you had allocated to like quickly get stuff done, that whole block of time is just recentering yourself and figuring out, okay, where was I at getting your bearings? So one of the biggest problems of why we can feel so incomplete with finishing everything and why we feel like it's just adding and adding and adding is that we're actually not fully getting stuff on our plate often. We're starting something and stopping it and jumping to another thing, and we're helping someone solve a problem, and we're going in and giving a report on progress. And we actually are just opening new loops. We're not closing as many because of this context switching. Now, the other cost of it is that we're not fully present. And I think that can be one of the biggest things that our team members start to notice, right? That we're in a meeting with them and we seem distracted, or maybe we're kind of eyes glancing back at our chat window or emails. And this starts to send a signal to our team members that we're not really interested in what they're talking about. I know I've been on the receiving end of that. I'm in a meeting, my one-on-one with my manager, I've looked forward to all week because I had a lot of stuff to talk about. And first they come in 7 minutes late to a 30-minute meeting. So like a third of the way through. And then they keep going, oh, wait, I got to check this ping. Or, oh wait, let me just look at this thing. Or they don't say it and I just see their eyes looking somewhere else, right? This doesn't make me feel very good as a direct report at all. And that manager, most likely, it wasn't their fault. They were just pulled in so many directions. They thought, I can't look away from this for a second. So this kind of thing, not only do we leave all these open loops, we can send messages to folks that we didn't even mean to, that we're not really prioritizing them. Do you want some hands-on support for all of the topics I talk about on this show? Like a team expert who has worked within tech giants like Apple and Google, as well as small businesses on hand to help you delegate and get out of the weeds, handle tough conversations with team members, plan your hiring strategy, and get your teams to help bring in more revenue? Then it's time to sign up for my Team Whisperer Consulting Sprint. For 90 days, you have me in your back pocket to help you navigate any and every issue happening on your team. DM me the word sprint on Instagram or email me at hello@liagarvin.com and let's build your unstoppable team. So what do we do about it? Because we know this is a problem. And I think any of us that are thinking of like, how many times we start and stop and shift focuses, that it's exhausting, even just like thinking about the number of times we're doing that. Well, what do we do about it? There's a couple of things that I think right off the bat, like you can pause this episode and do these, or do that right at the end of the episode and figure this out, make it a little bit of relief for yourself. And I'm going to say one caveat. Obviously, if we are distributed across a lot of different projects or we're wearing many hats in our team, the context shift switching is going to happen. But there's a couple of things that we can do. First and foremost is to really kind of actively plan each week, like look ahead at what is my week going to look like. Okay, so I like to do this at the end of every Friday before I close up for the weekend. And let's be honest, I'm a business owner, so it's not like I'm not looking at my emails over the weekend. But when I try to wrap up my week, I look at the next week and I'm like, okay, where do I have a bunch of holes in my calendar? Where can I put some things back to back? Or where can I create a block of space? Now, you may not be able to do this with that short of notice, but you could maybe look 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead and start to block out chunks of time when you can have focus time. So maybe you found, Wednesday afternoons are pretty quiet, Friday mornings. Maybe you put a block on your calendar and it's focus time, and you know that this is some time where I'm not going to have the whack-a-mole. I'm not going to jump from one thing to the next. I'm actually going to focus on project time. So I don't have to use any context switching during that. That's one thing. Actively planning your week. It may not be the week ahead. I like doing that anyway. Even if you can't change meetings, knowing in advance what's coming actually sort of helps you eliminate some of that context switching time. For example, if I know, hey, on Monday, I have a few client meetings. On Tuesday, I'm running a big workshop. On Thursday, I am doing some manager coaching. Let's say I know that's coming. I can think, okay, so Monday, I really have to be thinking kind of like problem solving mode. Tuesday, I'm more like on because I'm doing a workshop, right? I have to be really kind of that on stage feeling. Wednesday is a little bit more, I forgot what I said it was Wednesday, is more creative, whatever it looks like. That can actually set your mind to be in the right headspace, because you're not just open up the calendar what do you got for me today? Okay. The other thing I strongly suggest is grouping meetings that you are owners of into common things into one day. So a lot of managers I've worked with do all their one-on-ones on Monday or Tuesday. So let's say Monday's a good day for you because you're working from home and you kind of start the week, you get everybody going for the week. Maybe you do all your one-on-ones on Mondays. For other folks that are doing a hybrid schedule, they like to do their one-on-ones in person. So they do them on Tuesdays when they're in the office, because that's when their team members will be there. And then they do those then. They get that FaceTime with their team members. They know that on Tuesdays, that's when we get things rolling. And so then they're not context switching from one-on-one mode to project strategy mode. They're in that same headspace. So looking across and really, getting a sense of the week and figuring out, well, again, for meetings you're the owner of, or where you do have that control of the schedule, consolidating those. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, I have found this to be one of the best gifts. I color code my calendar religiously. I have different types of meetings. Red, I have are emergency can't move. So this is anything with clients, anything that's someone's hired me to do that I'm providing for someone. Those are red. I have, if it's kind of a casual check-in or something with someone, a catch-up, I have that in green. If it is something that a training I'm attending or something like a personal development, I have that in blue. I'm just sharing my colors, just kind of, and then if it's a block, I have lunch break, so I don't forget to take a walk, or if I'm blocked out, I have that in gray, right? So that helps me when I'm just okay, what's coming my way? Take a glance. I see oh, Wednesday's all red. I got to be on. And I see Thursday, it's actually mostly greens and blues. So it's mostly kind of that professional development or connecting with folks. That's going to be a lighter day. So now conceptually, I'm not context switching the whole time because I know what's headed towards me. So those are a few of the strategies that I've found really useful for reducing the sense of, I'm pulled in this direction. I have to be thinking in this way from that way. And I don't necessarily mean like you're getting rid of all your meetings, but that you're sort of reducing the context of how you're showing up as a leader. So I mentioned consolidating all your one-on-ones. That doesn't just mean having one one-on-one. Your whole mindset that day is one-on-one team development. That's like one context. And then maybe you have project meetings and that's another. And then maybe you have like long-term strategy. That's the context I'm talking about. Because that's where it gets tough if you had a one-on-one. Now you have a project strategy meeting. Now you have another one-on-one. Now you're doing a planning meeting. Now you have a team lunch. Like all of that requires different things of you. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean we blow up the whole schedule, but it's kind of like grouping things together to reduce that cognitive load. All right. I'm so curious to hear how this goes. So if you try this out or when you try this out, please send me an email or a message on LinkedIn and tell me, yeah, this grouping on my calendar or color coding it or kind of figuring out, well, how can I consolidate what on what days, or even looking ahead at the schedule, which of these tools works for you? I'm really curious to hear. And please, if you have other tools that have helped you with this context switching, we all want to hear about it. So send me a message on LinkedIn or an email at hello@liagarvin.com, and I will share that on a future episode of like what other folks found valuable, because it's really fun to hear from you. All right. And what's also fun is to pick up a copy of my new book, The New Manager Playbook, coming out January 27th. If it's already past that, it is on Amazon. I am so excited to share this with you. It has got all the tips, tricks, tools you need to manage with confidence and ease. Not going to want to miss this one. All right. See you next time. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Managing Made Simple podcast, where my goal is to demystify the job of people management so that together we can make the workplace somewhere everyone can thrive. With that said, let's spread the word. If you love this episode, please pass it along to someone who might benefit from it. See you next time.